I bought more yarn. Hey friends, I'm Mads and welcome back to Grey and Crochet. If you're new here, you might not know that I am currently on a stash down year. I am trying not to buy any yarn, but I just had to buy this particular yarn, which I will show you in a second. I went thrift shopping, which I actually haven't done in a while. I used to do it probably a year ago to try and find some good yarns. However, I've never really had any luck. The most I was able to find was like a skein or two of a good looking yarn, in my opinion, like something that I would buy. But I like to buy more than a couple of skeins of yarn just in case I run out while making a project. I always like to have extra. I over prepare. But this time I did actually find a ginormous bucket of yarn, and it was this glorious yarn here, which is in hot pink. It is called Cosy yarns in the color hot pink. It is 100% polyester, 100 grams. It is machine washable, and it just says to warm machine wash or hand wash, cold rinse, do not wring, do not iron, do not tumble dry, to dry flat in shade, do not bleach, and do not dry clean. So very similar to other yarns, but it is machine washable as with most polyester yarn. This retails, from what I was able to find, for about $5 a skein. I couldn't really find it in any Australian stores. I definitely have not seen this at Spotlight, and I visit Spotlight quite a bit. But I was able to find it on Etsy and Amazon and those sort of sites, and they are roughly $5 for a 100 gram skein. The shop that I went to had this for $1 a skein. So I ended up buying 5 of them because I actually needed it for a project at the time. So during my Monsters Cal, I started making this particular project with blanket yarn because it did sort of call for that fuzzy yarn, but I did not have any at the time. And then a couple of days before the due date of this project, I managed to find this, and so I made this, and he or she is glorious. I love this one. It is so incredibly cute, so fluffy. I don't know if you guys can see that, and the color is so vibrant. It looks so well with the white and the white tail as well. So incredibly cute. Now, I did actually struggle using this yarn initially. I spent probably an hour just trying to work with it just by itself, and it is sort of like an eyelash yarn. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know eyelash yarn is technically a little bit different to this, but I'm not entirely sure what you would call this. But it is just like a really thin piece of string with some fluffy bits hanging off it. So nothing like blanket yarn at all. When you crochet with it, it can be a little bit tough on your hands because of the string that sort of cuts into you, but you sort of get used to it. I just wouldn't personally crochet with it for a period of time. But yeah, incredibly difficult to actually crochet just with this alone. This label also did not really mention what hook to use or anything like that, so I just went with my judgment, but I was really struggling. Maybe it was just my lack of experience crocheting with specialty yarn, but if you guys have tips, please let us know in the comments below, because I just couldn't get the hang of it for the hour that I tried to do this. So what I did was pair it with some DK weight acrylic yarn that I had, and that was the Marvel 8-ply yarn from Spotlight. I had it in the color Melon, which is a pinkish color but not really hot pink. You can see it in some spots of this monster. It's sort of like a dull, like peachy but brighter than peachy color. I'm not really sure how to describe it very well, but you definitely can see it in certain spots. But from afar, can't see it at all. So I did pair this fluffy yarn with that, and it was so much easier. Obviously, I did still have to get used to trying finding the stitches, but if you work with things like velvet yarn or blanket yarn, it's a similar sort of struggle. If you do pair it with a DK weight yarn, you just sort of have to feel for the stitches, but a million times easier actually working with the two yarns together than this by itself. So yes, if you do have any recommendations, please let me know, but I really did enjoy working with it once I paired it with this DK weight yarn. I think I used a 5 or a 5.5 millimeter hook and paired it together. That was just what the pattern recommended for this one, and it worked well in my opinion. It wasn't really holey or anything like that. Another thing this pattern recommended was to turn it inside out, and that was a brilliant suggestion. It definitely is a bit fluffier on the inside of your work compared to the correct side. So towards the end, just flip your work and you would end up with a fluffier piece. That is my bit of advice to you. But yeah, I really enjoyed working with this, and I'm so glad that I did buy 5 skeins of this. That means I can experiment with this yarn a little bit more on other projects as well. It'll be really interesting just to use it for some bit of decoration, maybe like the back of a monster or something like that instead of a full piece. I think it would kind of cute. Even as hair, it would look very vivid, like a disco afro kind of hair on some sort of creature. I think it would look hilarious. I'm so excited to try this a bit more. But I did also find lots of other amazing things at the craft store this time. Lots and lots of books, which are very similar to the books that I shared with you in my vintage book review flip through video, which I will link up here for you. I have so many patterns though, like over 1,000 for sure. I have so many crochet books that I want to get through, and digital patterns, and then these vintage crochet books, so I just wasn't interested in buying it. But I did take the time to flip through most of these books, and they were quite fascinating. Some of them were vintage, very similar to the books that I shared with you in that video. Some of them were newer patterns, definitely yarn brands that I recognize now as well, and very good condition, surprisingly. Sometimes these books aren't the best quality. The ones I shared with you in my vintage flip through video were quite old, double my age, and some of them are falling apart. So I was actually quite impressed to see really good quality books at the thrift store. They looked so incredibly cute, some really modern patterns as well. Humongous books as well. Like, I have never seen that size of books just at an ordinary store. Like, even my amigurumi books aren't as thick as some of those books that I did see at the store. But yeah, just didn't want to buy any more patterns. I am a bit overwhelmed with the amount of patterns I need to crochet at the moment, but I would say it is a quite successful little shop. I also did see in the bucket with this one some loop yarn, which is basically like just piece of yarn but loops throughout. I think you can finger knit or finger crochet, whatever it's called, with that type of yarn, which I have been quite interested in trying, but I am on a stash down here, so I didn't want to buy too much yarn that I might not use this year, so just went with this. I think it will definitely come in handy for some of my amigurumi creations this year, so can't wait to try it out. But thank you for watching this little itty bitty yarn haul and little yarn review of this fluffy yarn. If you guys have tried a similar yarn, let me know your thoughts, any sort of tips that you have, please share it with us. We would love to know. But if not, I will see you in this video over here that YouTube thinks you might like. I'll see you there. Bye.